Very much indeed.
I don't think I'll take much more than the 7 minutes. We've spoken loads about this issue in this House, and I sure have, and I will continue to do so. But I just want to, first of all, welcome the discussion. I want to welcome the discussion very much, because I don't think we can talk about this enough. Because every day that goes by, another 12 women leave this country to procure an abortion, another 3 at least procure the abortion pill. So the reality behind women's lives, behind fatal fetal abnormality, tragedies, etc., continues as we continue to fail to deal with this issue. So I do welcome the discussion and the opportunity to talk about it. Mattie McGrath, I'm amazed at you. You've been around a long time, you're still here and all the rest of it. But to be honest, the arguments you are making are so unscientific, so silly, so prejudiced, so bigoted, that they are dragged up from a period that Ireland has gone through and forgotten. The stuff about the IFAP, I remember that very well. The so-called pro-life, who are actually anti-choice groups. If they were pro-life, they would care about the deaths of women, but they don't. But they're anti-choice. They deliberately set up a situation where they targeted the Irish Family Planning Association, picketed their clinics and tried to have them criminalised for giving out false information, and they were found to be given a false perception on it. I remember it because I went on a counter-picket on the one in Cahill Street with the people that Mattie refers to, some of them so-called women who are hurt by abortion. But I would suggest that the more we frame this discussion in terms of fear and horrible things that happen to women after they have an abortion, and they can't go back to their doctor because they have to hide it, and the more we hide the fact that abortion is a reality in this country and scapegoat women. And there was a day, I believe, I wasn't around at the time, you might have been, Mattie, but I believe there was a day in this Parliament when women who advocated repeal the 8th Amendment or stood up for the right to choose were called murderers. Thanks be to God we've moved on from that, and that really is my point. I think, Mattie, we've moved on from the level of debate that you're giving us here. The debate has moved on hugely because Irish society has moved on hugely, and we now have to start thinking very carefully about what is the reality. And so back to the bill. The bill actually does try address the disgraceful situation where a state-funded clinic did in fact give out information. Some of it is hard to repeat, but just to say that one woman was told that she couldn't have an abortion before 8 weeks of gestation because if she had it any earlier, there was too much danger of leaving a body part behind because the fetus is so small. You might still be pregnant if you left it behind. Now, what ugly, unscientific, anti-medical, anti-logic crap is that to be spewing out? Whatever the IFPA might have told women, it certainly was not anti-medical. I know hundreds of women who would have really been in dire straits without the services of the IFPA, including myself, and very much appreciated their support, help and advice down through the dark years of this country, when even to say the word abortion was to put you into a sort of a secret, put a crucifix and a piece of garlic up in front of you because you were some kind of a devil. We have moved on, and that is the point. But I just want to say that the fact that we're discussing this does really show that the regulation of access to information on services that are legally available in other states is what this discussion is about. How do we regulate access to information available in other states? My God Almighty, there is no other area or aspect of life or in any other jurisdiction would you find this. The services we're talking about regulating available in other states, and we're looking at how do we access or regulate the information to it. It speaks volumes about this country that such detailed regulations and guidelines are required to spell out to us women how and where we can find ways and means of controlling our own bodily autonomy. And I just want to, echo what Mattie says in one way. What guarantee do we have that the state did not fund or will in the future fund agencies that have existed for a long time? The one in Berkeley Street that's been referred to has set itself up under various names since the year 2000. And at one stage advertised itself as offering advice on British options available for pregnant women, repeatedly really emphasising that it focuses on the truth around abortion. So you can say all these things, you could tick the boxes in the regulation. Does that mean that we now have to have a regulatory authority with inspectors that oversee it, or send undercover women in for interviews from time to time to make sure that it's not happening? Finally, just to say that the failure of this House to deal with the question of abortion rights over the many decades at this point is really what has brought us to this point today. And quite simply, we could, not be discussing this bill had we agreed to have a referendum on the 8th Amendment. We could quite simply be in a much more clear-cut, uncomplicated and better place for women of today and women of the future had we agreed to put it to the people. What do they want? Do they want to repeal the 8th Amendment, or do they want to hold on to it? Because it is the 8th that lies behind all of the issues about services abroad, information that's available around them, etc. And God knows they were dark days when Cosmopolitan had to import their version of a magazine into this country with blank spots all over it that advertised abortion services, when a book called Every Woman was removed from every shelf of every public library in the country because it told women that they may be able to procure an abortion, when not just books and magazines, but also the Trinity College student unions were taken through the courts because they provided students with the names and addresses of clinics. Let's move on, folks. Let's get away from that anti-scientific, scary argument and start thinking about what needs to be done very, very quickly to end this draconian situation. And therefore, I do welcome the discussion and congratulate the Deputy for putting it. It's just a pity that when you were in power that you didn't manage to have the 8th Amendment repealed, or indeed vote in favour of the fatal fetal abnormality bill. But there you go, such is life. People change and move on, and thankfully we're moving on.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Louisa Riley. It's